Okay, here we go. We are one step closer than we were. Okay, there we go. We did it. All right. All right, let everybody come in. I've got stories today. I'm trying out the new DSLR hook. So quality should look better. I want to get your opinion on this, if you guys think I should go this route or not. We're also doing the multi-stream. For everyone who was in this with me last week, I was trying to figure this out. Last week we got, what do we have hooked up? We got Facebook hooked up, we got YouTube hooked up, and that was it. Today, it looks like we got the trio. We got not TikTok. We got Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So we are gonna see if that's happening. You know what, I should go to Instagram. Okay, it looks like Instagram's a go. Yeah, there we go. Holy crap. We are making progress. Looks like we got Instagram on too. So let everybody jump in. I might have to go TikTok old school to hook that up. So if so, we'll do this. All right. We are gonna throw TikTok up here the old school way. All right. Let's go like that. Okay, all right. I think let's see. Yep, here we go. This is huge progress. Okay, so let's see. I'll move this to here. All right, so to get everybody filled in right now, I did this video last week and I got YouTube hooked up. I got Facebook hooked up. Couldn't figure out Instagram. Right now we have the DSLR camera set up from this whole Elgato hookup. And we've got Instagram plugged in. So we are now streaming 3 platforms. I'm actually I'm trending away from Boomer, I guess. Like, I felt so old last week that I couldn't figure this out. So we're making some progress. Everybody, oh my gosh, I've got a story for you guys. Maybe you guys can help me out on this one. Let me throw TikTok into here, and then I might need your guys' help for this. Okay, so I have this trip. Okay, I'll give you more context. So let's see. Oh, there's no sound. Did I just hear there's no sound? Give me a thumbs up if you can't hear. I might have to go make sure we've got sound. Let me get some thumbs up if you guys can hear or not. I just think I saw somebody say I can't hear. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear. Maybe we don't have this thing figured out yet. Is there sound? Let's start there. Oh, we got sound. Okay, good. Okay, good, we have sound. Okay, so last summer, I gotta tell you this whole story so that it actually makes sense. Last summer, I'm in the middle of the campaign, right? I decided to run for city council. It was our youngest daughter's birthday, July 23rd. My wife and my 13th anniversary, July 24th. My wife's 39th birthday, August 13th. My 40th birthday, August 29th, right? We skipped the anniversary. We skipped my wife's birthday. We skipped my birthday. It was just too crazy. Like, we didn't have time to do it. And so, what we decided, we'll get through this campaign, we'll get to a point where we could breathe. Let's just do a redo. We'll celebrate my wife's 40th basically now, and I'll just jump on the party, right? And so before you knew, basically what happened was I was on this crazy schedule going from, building commune, which is a full-time, beyond full-time, then ran a campaign where that took me to like red line. And then I'm a husband, we were having our 4th kid. It was just crazy. Well, what I realized a few weeks ago was I never stepped off the pace. I've been at like red line now for a full year. And the reason why I'm saying that, over the last 3 weeks, I've been kind of working now to get to a point where I have something that is sustainable. Because Redline you can do for a little while, you can't sustain it. So I'm kind of going through like a reorg of time management. All that to say, we didn't schedule a birthday for myself. We didn't schedule a birthday for my wife. We didn't schedule an anniversary. It's been crazy. And then you add all the stuff on with the house. Like, for most of the people that follow me, they know we had a whole issue with black mold. Okay. So one of our friends, her 40th birthday is 3 days before Jen, for my wife. And so she put together this huge trip to Mexico, flying into Puerto Vallarta, going into, what is it? Punta Mita? Geez, if I butcher these names, I'm sorry. And then there's 20 couples staying at the Four Seasons. All the guys are golfing Friday at this cycle golf course. All the girls are getting massages, doing a spa day. There's, something planned. It was sick, or it's supposed to be sick. My wife and my passports expired during COVID. And we thought nothing of it. We were like, whatever, like, we're not traveling. We have no traveling plans coming up. We'll just, we'll renew them when we renew them. Well, 5 months ago when we planned this trip, we are in this weird kind of zone where you can go through a renewal process with your passport, but there's no guarantees. Like, it's like 7 to 9 months maybe. Even like if you expedite it, like, there's no guarantee that you're going to get it. And so we were like, you know what, at this point, like, we might as well just wait until 14 days in and then go do the in-person. So we call on the 14th day, we schedule our appointment for today. We go to the federal building, our appointment's at 11. We get there at 10:15, don't get into the appointment till 1 federal. And as we get in there, they go, the systems are down. There's no passports being printed today. So Jen and I are like, we have a 9 a.m. flight tomorrow, right? Golf on Friday with the boys, girls spa, the whole nine. And I'll get into this part. So we're like trying to figure out what to do. They're like, look, there's nothing that's going to change this. There's no temporary passport. What we can do is print this thing and you can pick it up tomorrow at 1, right? So flight's at 9:30, pick it up at 1. That's not going to work. So I'm looking at Jen. Jen looks at me and she goes, why don't we just like cancel the trip? Like, you and I, why don't we just pick a state? Like, we have a baby, so we have everything set up for the kids. Let's just pick a state. Let's go for the weekend. And I was like, babe, everything is paid for. Hotel's paid for. Everything's paid for. There's no refunds. Like, if we don't go, we're swallowing a good amount of money. So here's where we've landed on it. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this, if you have any ideas, let me know if I'm missing anything. So basically, I'm going to go there with Jen and I are going to go fully packed, ready to go. I'm going to get to the federal building at 11. We're going to wait in line. I'm going to try to pick this thing up at 1, right? If there's no traffic, I've booked a flight out of Tijuana for Jen and I at 6 o'clock, because that's the latest flight tomorrow that I could find in Southern California. Well, this isn't technically California, but you know what I'm saying. And we're going to shoot over there, park the car in San Diego, fly out of Tijuana. Get there tomorrow night, and then we don't miss anything. I also changed our flight that was supposed to take off tomorrow at 9:30. We now take off Friday morning at 7 a.m., but there's no direct. So we've got to go into Arizona. Basically, we land in Mexico at 11:30. I miss the golf day with the boys. Jen misses the spa with the girls, but we'll spend half of Friday there. We'll spend Friday night. We'll spend all day Saturday, fly home Sunday. Are those my only options? Is there something I'm missing? Now, I did hear that you can get this done on a military base if you have access to a military base. And so I sit on a committee that is at our military base. And I was like, dang, I wonder if like a civilian, even though I sit on the committee, I could get in, but not always. I wonder if a civilian can get in and do this. They're like, no, you got to be active military to do it. So I think these are my best options. You know, if we pick up the Passport at 1, there's no traffic, shoot down at the border, figure out what to do with the car on the way back. What else am I missing? I got, how far is Tijuana? Okay, if there's no traffic, I can get from the federal building to the border in about 2.5 hours if there's no traffic, maybe 3. So if I'm there, if I pick this thing up at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, 4:30, I think I can still pull it. I think. Anything I'm missing? What a turn of events, huh? Commune Capital private jet. Okay, so it's times like this where I want to put a private jet on the goal list. You know, I can't figure out how to make it make sense financially. I think, like, even with the depreciation game, I don't think there's a way to make it sense financially, but from a time standpoint, it makes all the sense. But I'm not flying that much. So maybe I put the jet on the goals, but there's still some things I need to figure out. Until I'm flying, what, once a week? Does it make sense? Maybe if we get the jet, what do? They rent it out to other people. Maybe that's an option. What else what am I missing? What are some other options here? I want a jet to hate flying with the peasants. Christian, I don't think it's a peasant thing. I think it's just, it's a convenience thing. That's what it is, right? Like, I'm not totally mad flying out of airports. Of course, I prefer business or first class. It's better. It's way more expensive, but it's better. Anytime I've flown private, it is amazing. I mean, the plane leaves when you want it to leave. So that's amazing. You pull up, you can get there 10 minutes prior. But I don't have a problem flying with other people, actually. That's not a big deal for me. I just like in this case, can you imagine, like, oh, passport's not done till tomorrow at 1, cool. Hey, have the jet ready at 2. I might have to put that on the goal list. I might have to really, really go for it over the next couple years. Instead of doing 5 deals, no, we don't have 5. How many deals do we have right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it'd be 5. We would do 5 deals this year. Instead of the 5 deals that we have planned, I might have to make it 10. Management co. I feel that. There has to be a third-party co that does the booking of your planes, like an Airbnb or like a Airbnb or Turo. Yeah, so that I might have to look into that. Like, if I'm not flying that much, do you rent out the jets to other people? I got to start looking into that. This might be the one, but we're not there yet. Like, the company, that money could be used for growth right now, so we're not at the point of doing the jet, but I might be making it a goal, that's for sure. All right, as far as my next trip, it is what it is. Sorry, I've got camera set up here, but I don't have the screen's too far away to see the comments, so I'm gonna have to look down. It's too far to Palomar Airport. I've checked. I did Palomar. I did Ontario. I did San Diego. The only flight that goes out tomorrow night is Tijuana. But I don't know. Has anybody flown out of Tijuana? From what I've heard, you can basically park in San Diego. There's a parking lot, and there's like a brand new terminal that basically walks you through right into the airport. Like, I heard it's actually like kind of epic. Has anybody done it? Let's see. Mikey, let's split a private jet. You pay 99%, I pay 1%, and I keep it warm while you don't fly. That's a good deal. I think the jet's back on the goal list. I think I got to put the jet there. Mikey, I work in product design. I have a portfolio for skate shoes, and I don't know who to send it to. That's a good question. If you're a designer, I mean, I believe you want to send it to shoe companies and see if they'll pick up your designs, or start a company with somebody and let's run it off your design. All right, how's it going, everybody else? How's it going with everybody else? How's today going? Was today a good day? My day was not ideal. I sat at the federal building for a long time. I did it with my wife, so that was nice. Came back to the office, worked for a couple hours, gonna finish with a live. Not a terrible day. How's everybody else's day? Listen to the wife. Take the weekend anywhere in the States. Everything has its reasons. She just wants to spend the weekend with you. Preston, that is some wisdom. That is some wisdom for sure. All right, let me ask you guys this. If no matter what, I'm spending the weekend with my wife. So I think that's ideal. Now, if we fly out of Tijuana, her and I are going on an adventure, right? We're going to sit in the car. We're going to mission out there. I think it would actually be fun considering like everything, we get there and make it back safe. I think that would be fun. It'd be a fun adventure. If not, we already have babysitters locked in. Jen and I are going to stay down in LA, or we'll go do something tomorrow, fly out to Mexico. Like, we've got the weekend covered. If we go to, and maybe I'm just looking at this wrong, but if we don't go to Mexico, I think like hotel and flights, I think like we're $5,000 in. So I'm going to swallow 5. And then wherever we go, there will be a cost to that. So I know I typically end up looking at numbers, but I feel like it's better to just get out there. I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts? Just rush it. I get the time with the weekend with my wife for the weekend, so that's good no matter what. If you miss the TJ flight and go out of LAX on plan B, does it really save any time to go to Phoenix at 7 a.m. versus a direct at 9? Mike Wallace, no, it doesn't. They didn't have a direct. Tomorrow is the only direct. I don't have an option not to. So basically, I tried to just go, okay, whatever. Like, let's fly out to Arizona tomorrow night, or even tomorrow afternoon. I'll spend the day or the afternoon in AZ with her, stay the night, wake up in the morning, go to Mexico. Couldn't do it. Had to be paired together. Now we're getting back into private jet. Look, I thought this conversation was going to be on real estate. It's on private jets. That's where we're at. And everybody see the real estate market? There was, let me see, here we go. The Hey Coach podcast. Give a shout out to the podcast. I own a home outright and own a condo, which I have a mortgage. If I sell the condo for a home, should I use the capital I have on the home or use the condo profits and get a small mortgage? Okay, so this is I'll talk about this article that just came out today. It talked about basically home prices are soaring again, right? Like, the recovery has already happened in the markets that have corrected. And in other markets, you're seeing record breaking pricing at, what's the average 30-year fix right now? 7.2%. So it's 7.2%, double what interest rates were a year ago. Record pricing. The reason for it, most of you know the reason because I talk about it all the time, but we're undersupplied in many markets. In my area, Ventura County, we're 31,000 units short. I mean, the amount of time it's going to take to get there, it's going to take a long, long time. Then and this is touching off of the condo question. Most people refied or bought most people who bought or refied in 2021 are sitting at like 3% interest rates. So why would you sell at 3% to buy something at double the interest rate, knowing the prices haven't moved, right? It'd be one thing if prices came down to match the drive in interest rates. That's what's typically supposed to happen. But because we're undersupplied, and on top of that, you got institutional investors coming in to buy single family. You have international dollars coming in, money from Russia, money from China. There's a lot of money from other markets coming in here because they think our market's a safer market. And then with Airbnbs, you're taking homes that would typically sell or become rentals off the market. And why you're seeing pricing now go beyond what it was last year, where interest rates have doubled. So I don't think it makes sense, actually. I don't think it makes sense to sell an asset to buy something at the same price or higher to take on a higher interest rate. I would look at another way to buy right now. I know a lot of people are looking at, HELOCs, or if they have cash, they're hanging on to their primary or moving that into a rental property and then buying something without selling it. So it's an interesting market. It really is. Like our whole philosophy right now, like we're building our entire new fund off of this thesis that in markets that are undersupplied, we're going heavy on California, a market that a lot of people do not invest in because it's difficult. Well, the difficulty to build here has ultimately created this problem where we're significantly undersupplied. We're going heavy in these markets that are undersupplied. We're building more supply because we know the demand's there. And so if you're going to build something knowing demand will be there for, let's say, the next 10 years, those are markets we want to be in. But when you think about how long it takes to build in a market like California, one of our, not our last project, but the project before that we got under contract, we worked on that for 3 years until we got to the point of it being entitled. Then we have another. No, sorry. We worked on it for 2 years to get to entitlement. Then we have a year to get to the point of being able to build. Then it's going to take us 2 years to build it. Then it'll take an additional, year to rent it up, to stabilize it. It takes so long to get product online that I think we're going to have this problem for a long time. And so what does that mean? If you're in a market that's undersupplied and you're waiting for the Fed to drop rates and you're expecting that to happen soon, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I think 7% is the new normal for a while. I could see it staying here for the next 3 years, and I don't think real estate pricing does not have to come down because it's undersupplied. So if you're waiting, it may not happen. We're in an interesting time. How and where do I get investors? I have a good size footprint in San Diego. I'm looking to build up. JD Lopez. Okay, I'll tell you how I go about getting investors, and I would recommend doing the same thing. So, one, social media. We have a lot of investors that come in through social. You can take kind of 2 avenues to do this. You can take the education route where you're creating content about real estate investing, make it more educational. Or you can talk about basically things that are happening in the market, and you can also promote your real estate with that. I guess beyond that, you can do paid advertising, highlighting your deal. You can create your funnel, create leads coming in, and then just turn it on and off for your sales cycle, right? That would be one avenue. Second, you can go to real estate meetups. You can go to real estate events. You can even go to events outside of real estate. You can go to tech events. You can go to entrepreneur events. Basically, just go to network. And that will basically build your list of people that you can hit up when you have new deal flow. So you go old school networking, you go new school on social media. And then one thing that I did in the beginning, and I think this is a really good strategy, whether you're looking for investors or not, go through your phone book and start texting people in there. And don't text them, hey, I have a real estate investment. I'm seeing if you're interested. Text them, hey, I have a new project in San Diego. I'm going to build, let's say, 30 units. Gross IRR, or maybe go net IRR to investor looks like it's about 18%. I'm trying to hold this thing for 5 years. That's a 2.1 multiple. So I can a little over double your money in 5 years. Do you have anybody who's interested in real estate that you could connect me with, right? So don't hit them up for the project. Ask them if they know people to connect you with. And basically what I found is people go, yes, I have somebody that I can connect you with, and I would love to hear about it as well. So that can be a way for you to expand your network through relationships you already have. And then on top of that, when you meet people and you start this process of building relationships, always ask them, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Do you know anybody that would be interested in real estate investments? Anyone you could connect me with? So you're just going to go heavy on networking. And that's basically what I do. Real life and social media. Hope that helps. Westfield Mall in SF could be a good home for folks. Maybe. Yeah, Westfield, a lot of the mall, like California, actually, I just heard this at last night's city council meeting. They are really going to start pushing adaptive reuse. Adaptive reuse is what we do in our storage portfolio. So we typically go after Walmart's, Bed Bath & Beyond's, like big box retail that goes vacant, and then we repurpose it into storage. So we fill the inside with, typically somewhere around 1,100 storage units. And when you pull up to the parking lot, it still feels like you're pulling into a Kmart. And then it's a Life Storage. So that is going to be the big push from the state. And so I think you're going to see a lot of these assets that were zoned different class start being pushed into multifamily or something more of need to meet the demand. So I agree. I'm starting a business with drones. Don't know exactly what I'll be doing, but jumped in and bought one instead of putting it off forever. I know you don't specialize in the field, but any general advice? Okay, what I would say is build a business plan. This has always been huge for me with every business I've started. It sucks and it feels a little bit, what's the right word? Tedious, I guess. But it really helps you do the research to formulate the best plan forward. So in that, what I would do, create a business plan as if you're raising money. So you wanna build this thing so you're putting it in front of somebody and trying to make the case that they should invest with you. So any question that you think an investor would ask, you wanna have that answered. Some of the questions that investors are basically gonna ask, is there demand for this product? Show me other cases of companies that are doing this. Show me the growth that they're having. Like they want to see that there's demand. Second thing they're going to ask you is what makes you different, right? Why would somebody buy your product over someone else's? So you're going to want to have an example for that. In your process, you're going to have a path towards profitability or a path towards an exit, right? So there's two ways to build a business to success. One, so it's cash flow positive. Two, you build the thing so that somebody buys it and you make your money then. Either way, you just have to have the path that you're taking and have a plan to get there. If you're building it to sell, usually you have to do multiple, not always, but you usually have to do multiple capital raises along the way because you're usually trying to grow before you become profitable and you need more money to get there. If you're building something to just a cash flowing business, maybe it takes longer, but it still helps you build out your path of least resistance, or maybe the path that gives you the most probability in succeeding. So I would totally build out the business plan. It really does increase your chance of success. So even though I'm not in the drone space, I've started 11 businesses at this point. Many of them have been in different categories. The business plan is the big one. The other thing, something that I've done that I think has been a huge reason why some of the things I've done have succeeded, I always find people that are doing what I want to be doing. So with my last business, or my most current business, which is Commune, I spent months speaking to real estate investors, syndicators, fund managers, anyone I can get in front of that was doing what I wanted to do, to gather as much information around what their challenges were, things that I needed to prepare for, just a overall expectation. I've done that with every business. And I think that's a model that everyone should do. It's been huge. Saves time, saves money. All right. I have $5,000 outside of my emergency fund that I can either continue to save to purchase a home, or I can invest in Commune Capital. I'm 28. What would you suggest? Okay, I would say really consider when you want to buy a home. And if you want to buy a home, let's say in the next 5 years, I would save all your money to do that. If you don't want to buy a home in the next 5 years, let's say you're good renting for the next decade and you want to get your cash into other investments, then this is the time to do that. You just got to kind of make a decision on what's best for you. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question because what works for me does not mean that works for you. So I would say find your timeline on when you want a home. And if you're good not owning one for a decade, then I think you can get that money invested. If you want to own something within the next 5, I would start saving now for it. All right. Damn, my selling water idea wasn't good enough. I mean, Liquid Death is making a killing off of selling water. So you know what? You know what's funny? It's interesting. I put that this talk was going to be about the real estate market. By and large, it's been about travel and entrepreneurship. But this one is actually interesting. It's very rarely about the idea. Actually, people come up with great ideas all the time. And there's nothing that a good idea doesn't mean success. What it really comes down to is how do you execute on that idea? Because at the end of the day, most people just come up with ideas and they're constantly coming up with them and they're not doing anything. They're never acting on it. So it's just kind of a bunch of dreams at that point. So if you have the idea, what separates, I guess, the few from the many as it pertains to entrepreneurship is the ones who just take action on the idea. I think that's implementation is in probably more regards more important than the idea itself. Flip a flip into another flip, then flip that flip into another flip, and you're flipping rich. That's good. Joshua Garcia, he's not wrong. I have friends that do this. They flip homes over and over. They make a ton of money. What you want to be mindful for is if you flip, this is your job. This, even though it feels like you're real estate investing, it's more transactional, right? You buy something, you build it or renovate it, you sell it, and all of a sudden you're out of an investment again. It's a cycle of always needing more deals, or you can look at it as you're constantly putting yourself out of business and having to find a new one over and over. Now, you can do it so that you have constant money coming in, but you're taxed as ordinary income. These are short-term gains, so you're taxed high, and you're not building something that can make you money without working. So where this is done right is if you view flipping as your job, and then you put that money, once you get it to the sizable point, into passive investments. So that income or the big pop happens from the flip, and then the long-term wealth is created without your time sacrifice. But that's absolutely a strategy that works. All right, let's try to get to some more questions. Would you suggest investing in a property or a duplex in Texas? If you're able to house hack, I would house hack. I don't know what life stage you're at, but if you can house hack, do it. Live in one of the units. I think it's best to get a 4-unit, rent out the other units, plugs you in or opens up FHA financing, so you put little down. There's a cap on what you can borrow, but in a market like Texas, I don't know if that's going to be as much of a problem as, let's say, California. I guess it's depending on where you're investing. That's a great strategy. That's a strategy I wish I would have done when I was young. I've missed the point. 4 kids, we're not house hacking anymore. And I'll skip over. I'll look at, I'd rather own a home in the next 5. Okay, if you want to own a home in the next 5, that's your goal, then don't invest your money. Put that money in a high yield savings account and feel fine about it. Like, the purpose of that money is to buy a home. You don't need to put it in the stock market. You don't need to take great risk with it. That's actually totally okay. All right, jump over to YouTube. I bought my first ever decent car. Heck yeah, what'd you get? Flapajacka, if you're still on, what kind of car did you get? It's a pleasure to meet you, Daniel. Pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you, Legend, for being here. Just wanted to hit the like and comment and support for you. Peace. Sir Charge, I appreciate you. Thank you, Legend. Do you raise money personally, Mikey, or do you have other people do that part? Okay, really, really good question. So from 2011, or so, 2012, that's when I first started raising money for St. Archer. Then when we started Commune, I was primarily raising the money. I had one other partner that was raising money with me, but I was out there because it was a startup. I was pitching, I was following up, I was basically in charge of the whole process. And that was really because we were at a point where we were all wearing multiple hats because the capital wasn't here yet. We were investing our own money, and that was kind of the name of the game. I did that for probably the first 4 years of the business. I was very, very involved in the capital raise, and I was very involved in the networking side as well. About 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, we got to the point where we could start building out our team. So now I do raise some of the money, but not the majority of it, but I'm a part of it. I'll explain what that means. So as far as capital raising, you have a few different categories from the point of first touch point until capital in, right? You have all of your marketing that you're doing to create leads. That could be done through social media, that could be done through in-person events, etc. So I'm very involved in that part. How are people finding out about us? So I'm involved there. As far as social media, the majority of it is done, at least from me creating the content, and then the ads that are going out, I'm typically really involved in that process as well. So there's some front end work on my end. Then once you're creating the lead, you have to have a whole, let's call it, system of touch points that get the contact or the person that may be interested on a call, right? That could be somebody calling right when they opt in. That could be an email campaign. That could be a text campaign, right? How we have it structured, once somebody comes in and is interested in investing with us, we have somebody that calls right away. Hey, David, I saw that you just opted into Commune. I'm excited to get you on the call with, whoever they're going to be talking to, our VP of sales, etc. What times work for you? So they're going to ultimately be helping you get on the call. Then you're going to be talking to one of our salespeople. I am now no longer involved. Once the lead comes in, I'm not calling to schedule. I'm not calling to pitch anymore. So that has changed. Unless you're somebody that comes in from my personal network, I might be involved on that end, but the majority of the cap raise, it's more front end for me, less, how would you say it? Less involved throughout the whole process. So my role has changed a little bit. That's really a function of us just growing though. Like we're getting to the point where we're raising a lot more money than we've ever raised. And we now have the capital available to build out our team. So when it's done right, I'll get to a point where this whole company's running without me. That's the goal. We're not totally there yet. All right, I don't know. You guys interested in capital raising? Is that something that's fascinating for you guys? Do you think it's interesting having to raise money for stuff? I never really talk about raising capital. Is that something I should talk about? And then on the decks too, I would say I'm pretty involved on the decks. Like when we create a new investment presentation, I'm very, very involved in the beginning stages. Then we have the team start building it out, and then I'll go through kind of the final steps with Michael or our partner Jerry. Aloha, Mikey. I have 20K and good credit. Heard I can access a rural business loan at 3% down. You know what? That is one thing that I have never done. I've never taken out a loan for a business. Any business that I've started where I didn't have the money, I went out and raised capital. So if that's the path for you, that could be a great option. That sounds like be aware of the risk that debt holds, but that could be pretty impactful for your business. Would you recommend someone or deter someone from purchasing an investment property as a first-time buyer? Okay, so not necessarily. I would just say if you're buying or investing in investment property for the first time right now, I would be cautious about it. The reason I say that, this is not a normal market. In my perspective, what we're starting to experience, and I think we're only going to experience it more and more, you're going to see a lot of the newer investors that have come in over the last 5 years, I think they're going to get wiped out. I think you're going to start seeing a lot of investors become distressed because they only started investing in good times, and the market had so much growth happen that it was masking mistakes. Everybody looked like they were killing it and doing things right. When times get hard or there's uncertainty that comes into the market, you start seeing those who are experienced pull way beyond those who aren't. And so if you're a first-time investor, what I would say is partner with an investor who has been through a correction before. Invest with a partner who went through the financial crisis. That will give you a much higher chance of success on the first one, help you get the knowledge that you need to gain to do the second, and so you don't have to learn through losing money. You can make money and learn at the same time. So I would either recommend investing passively with people who have experience, or invest in your first project with a partner who has experience. I think that's the best way to do it right now. How about the process of retaining a capital venturist or a hard lender? Okay, so that's a little bit more up my alley. If you're going to have a venture fund, or a venture capitalist, or somebody who invests in tech or in venture startup as an individual is different than a fund, right? So if you have these angel investors or seed investors, that's one thing. If you're looking at building relationships with funds and you want them to come in, it's kind of a different flow to get there. But the seed investor, or I don't know, what would you call it? Angel investor, that is done similar to how I was explaining to raise capital. That's going to be you going to investor meetups, getting on, if they're doing something on Twitter or Clubhouse or some type of digital kind of meetups that they're doing where you're figuring out who's who on the venture capital side. Going in real life, connecting with people on social, finding people on LinkedIn. You wanna build out your avatar of who's who. And then the process is, how do I get in front of them, right? That can be done through DMs. It can be done through emails. There's a couple different strategies. Let me know if you want me to go in on those strategies, but that's more of my world. I go and meet with individuals who want to invest. I don't really go towards big funds or big offices that want to invest with us. So let me know and I'll tell you basically everything we do. Is much capital needed to start real estate? Depends. It depends on the asset you're buying and how big. So Billy, I see you. I'll answer on this one. If you're going to buy a property in the Midwest, you might not need a lot of capital. If you're buying something for a couple $100,000 and you're going to put, let's say, $20,000 down, that's not a ton compared to maybe somewhere like California, right? Like our last project we did, which is a smaller project for us, but because of this moment we're in, you have to put more equity down, or I think it's wise to. Our current project is just under $14 million. And we put in 5.5 million. So we financed 8, we put in 5.5. That's a pretty decent amount of money to have to go out and raise. So it really depends, is to answer your question. When you're raising capital, it's interesting. Sometimes the larger amount is actually easier. Sometimes it's actually difficult to raise a couple $100,000 versus a couple million. I think the reason is it's the same amount of work, but when people start writing bigger checks, you get a bigger return on the effort you're putting in. Okay, so Billy, on strategy. So what I'm going to tell you actually, because I'm in a little bit of a different stage right now, but I think this is going to be helpful. For me, I can now reach out to people and I have a little bit more leverage than I would say someone would have when they're just getting started. I have a big following, right? A check mark helps too. I have a check mark, I have a big following, and I know a lot of people. So if I need to get in front of somebody and a DM doesn't work, I'm pretty sure I have a connection with that person where I can call them and go, hey, would you mind connecting me? And having somebody connect you you're gonna have it's gonna be a night and day difference in experience than you just cold calling, right? But what I'm gonna tell you, and hopefully this helps, I'm gonna tell you what people do to me to get my attention to work with me. And I'll tell you the things that work and I'll tell you the things that don't. So right now I get a lot of DMs, right? And a lot of the DMs I get are someone saying, like editing, right? This seems to be a big one right now. Hey, Mikey, I've been following your content. It's making such a big impact. I have a business where I edit people's social media. I can basically guarantee engagement from you. If you're interested, here's a link, or let's schedule a time to talk. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, interesting. Click on their profile. They don't follow me, right? And so what that feels like to me, oh, you're just putting out bot marketing. I don't like that. Like, bot marketing is not going to get to me. For people that send me cold emails and they get, they send emails as if they know me, those aren't going to get me as well. I think what I'm trying to say now, all the old sales tactics that they teach you to try to, create either fear of missing out or, create the alpha beta dynamic, I think all of that's played. I don't think that works anymore. So what is working? For somebody who sends me these type of emails or text messages or DMs, this is what's working. So this is what I would say to you. They go, Mikey, I've spent a few hours looking at, let's say, your content. And I've noticed there's a few areas where I think there's a lot of ways to improve it. Can I come spend a day with you and just film you and create content for you free of charge? I just want to show you that I'm going to give you value and no pressure. And for me, I'm like, I love when somebody goes, they're going to put their money where their mouth is. They see a need on my end, and they're going to go, I'm going to solve it. And if you don't like it, all good, no pressure. That's a pretty big one. Some people nowadays, they'll say, Mikey, a lot of people say, Mikey, can I take you out to lunch? I want to pick your brain. I don't think that works. A lunch is, I don't know, what, $30 most people, when they're at a certain level, $30 isn't worth their time to go spend giving somebody information or picking their brain, right? What some people started doing with me, they'll offer me a ton of money. Mikey, I wanna learn this. I wanna ask about this. Can I have a phone call with you? I'll send you $5,000 right now, right? When I hear that, most of the times I'm going, you know what? The fact that you just said that, keep your money. It's not even about the money. Here's the call. Let's do this, right? There's something about somebody who's willing to, or values your time, right? What I would say is look for ways to connect with people on similar, what would you say it? Similar interests. So I'm into golfing, right? Some people hit me up on a swing. They go, hey, dude, your swing is looking sick. I'm super into golf. Just wanted to say, I love seeing you golf, right? That's it. They just started the relationship build with it's awesome that you're doing it, right? Then over the next 2 months, send DMs to the person. Hey, dude, have you been golfing? I played a round last week. I had actually a phenomenal round. Just checking in to see how your game's doing, right? Play the long game and start building the relationship before you even go into an ask on a project. Most people aren't willing to play the long game anymore. They go straight in for the ask and they never get results. So find the interest or find the need and start there, build the relationship, then start talking about the opportunity to work together. One thing I'll say is what started happening to me is I would go on people's podcasts or I'd meet with people and they'd ask, what do you need? Like, what is a need that you have? What can I do? And I'd go, well, this is the need, right? And I'd tell them, never hear from them again. And it got to the point where I feel like people were just told, like, hey, ask somebody for a need so that you're doing something for them, and they never act on it. That actually, I think, is whack. Like, if you're not in a position to put time in to ask for a need, don't ask. And so I think where this rant comes to simplification, don't use the corny sales tactics. Like, if you want to build relationships, build them right. Relationships aren't built overnight. Do it like you would date a girl for marriage, right? Take her out, talk to her, get her to know her, see if you can go on another date and another date. Build the relationship before you go in for the ask. That was a long way of saying that. I understand that was a rant right there. It's so crazy watching your journey from prime skater years to now, killing it, man. Big respect. T Coach, I appreciate you, legend. It's been a crazy journey. I had somebody, did I freeze out here? I had somebody just recently. So I started putting content on YouTube. It took me a little bit long to start the transition, right? Like, when I stopped skating, I started with Instagram, started transitioning Instagram. Shoot, sorry guys, my Instagram just kind of froze up, whatever. So, I started with Instagram, started transitioning my Instagram. And when I started not posting skating and started talking about business, it was gnarly. Like, the first year was brutal. And I lost a ton. I mean, I probably lost 100,000 followers the first year. And I remember at the second year, I was hanging out with Brian Atlas and P-Rod. I was hanging out with Drama. And Drama gave me such a rad compliment, but he nailed it as far as what I was experiencing. He was like, dude, I got to tell you, man, you have an ability to just take it on the chin and just get punched over and over and over and keep going, right? And that's what it felt like. It felt like I was, in I guess like what Jason Dill would say, I was going upstream, right? Is that what he says? Upstream? That's what it felt like for probably 3 years. And then at 3 years, it started changing. Then, I don't know, what 200,000 followers I lost started growing again. And then I got to the point where I started becoming bigger on this end than I was as a pro skateboarder. So I started with Instagram, and then TikTok came into play, and then that was the game changer. My TikTok grew, and no one knew I was a pro skateboarder. They followed me all for entrepreneurship and finance and investing. Once, dang, Instagram is just frozen out. That's such a shame. Once that happened, I started moving on the other platforms. YouTube was one of the more recent ones. Right now, I'm trying to get Twitter transitioned. But on YouTube, somebody watched a video. They hadn't seen me in years, probably 8 years. And their comment was, dude, I heard that you were a real estate investor. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Say it ain't so, right? Please tell me you're still on a board skating every day. And it was just funny. My response to him was, dude, it's been 7 years now. It's got to be so crazy going from watching me, let's say in 2014, and then all of a sudden showing up 2023. It's like I'm a different person. It's crazy. I thought that was hilarious when people were surprised when they found out you were a pro skateboarder. So there were a couple things that, this Instagram one is, I wonder if I should just end the live for Insta. I don't think they're able to see anything. Insta, somebody send me a comment. Let me know if you're even able to see anything, if it's just glitched on my screen or if you guys are good. Are you guys able to give me a thumbs up if you're able to see me right now? If not, I know it's frozen. I have a good story for you guys though. I just might have to end this one. All right. We can hear you. Can you see me? Oh, you got thumbs up. Okay, so it's just frozen on my end. IG is good. Okay, shoot. Now I'm blanking on what I was going to say. I had a story that I thought was going to be. Oh, yes, that's it. Okay, so TikTok was interesting because I started on TikTok during the lockdown, and I remember when I started it, I had like 8 followers, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm going in on this. Like, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna post. I was posting 3 times a day. I was committed. 3 months later, I had 13 followers, right? I'm posting on my Instagram, like trying to get this like jump start. Hey, I'm on TikTok now, follow me there. No one cared. Like nobody on Instagram was going over to TikTok at that time. So I'm like, dude, this is brutal. Like I'm putting so much energy in. I have 13 followers, right? Then all of a sudden I had a video hit. I went from like 13 to a couple thousand. And then by the end of 2020, so maybe 2021, I had like 80,000 followers. And I was like so encouraged by that. I was like, you know what? I've got 600,000 followers on Instagram, but you know, probably half of those followers don't want me to be doing what I'm doing now. These 80,000, they're here for this. Like I didn't start as a pro skateboarder. I started for them as an entrepreneur and talking about finance and investing. And then the following got to, I don't know what I'm at now, maybe 700,000 maybe. But what started happening is somebody in the comment section of TikTok would go, does anyone here know that this guy was a pro skateboarder? And then there'd be all these comments underneath like, what, he was a pro skateboarder? It was so funny. Then it was happening in real life where I'd be out, somebody would recognize me, but they weren't sure why they recognized me. And, you know, they'd come up to me and they'd say, why do you look so familiar? And my first response, because I was a pro skateboarder for over a decade, did you used to skateboard? And it started happening over and over. No, never skated. And I was like, shoot. And all of a sudden they go, you're the TikTok guy, you talk about money, right? It happened over and over. So it's just crazy like to think how life changes. And now I've got 4 kids. I'm 40 years old, I have 4 kids. I've been married for almost 14 years. It's just great. Next week will be 14 years. Isn't that nuts? Question up top, I have the funds to buy cash, but is it better to borrow in case repairs come up? Okay, right now, and you guys know me, I'm a big debt fan, like lever forever. But depending on your strategy, I do not think you should be using debt right now. If you're buying something stabilized, debt doesn't work in a lot of cases. A lot of apartment buildings are trading at a 5 cap. And if interest rates are above a 5, then you have a negative cash flowing asset. The financing arm doesn't work. So if you're buying something stabilized, you need to be very, very sure that that asset can easily cover your expenses and your debt, and you have cash flow coming in beyond that. If not, don't do it. I would buy in cash right now. We're using debt, but we're doing something a little bit different. We're not buying anything stabilized. We're buying distressed assets typically and scraping them and building. And so we're not putting debt on an existing cap rate. We're, I guess in theory, building to a cap rate. In our world, it's yield on cost. So as long as we can have the yield on cost be higher than the interest rate, then we get that. We have that spread between interest and income produced from the asset. So some strategies it works right now, others it doesn't. So I would say be very careful with debt if you're buying stabilized. Do you think I should put more money into startups, tech, or real estate? Really good question. The tech industry is, I mean, you guys know, it's like they're getting hit right now. They're getting hit hard, and capital is hard to find in the tech industry. So in my perspective, right? And I don't talk about tech often, but in my perspective, if I was investing in tech right now, I'm not, but that's only because my investments in tech or in startups are fully allocated. And so until I have, maybe some portfolio growth that changes my, let's say, matrix, or there's an exit of one of them, then I'll go back in. But right now I'm fully allocated. If I wasn't, how I would be looking at it is there a tech company that is extremely undervalued right now because of the moment? And if so, that could be an opportunity to invest. But what you need to look at is what is the capital needs for that company and will they be able to get it? Because a lot of tech companies, as you guys know, they're not cash flow positive. They build these things to sell. And so they rely on capital along the way to get there. And capital is dry right now in tech. So you just got to be doing the right due diligence when looking at it. Same things at play for real estate. There's a lot of real estate right now that I don't think works. The fundamentals do, but the debt doesn't, like the examples that I gave you. If you're buying stabilized right now, what the big players are doing, they're buying in cash. It's a bond alternative, but these are massive, massive institutional investors. Other than that, I think the argument is building. I think you build in undersupplied markets. That's where I think it fits my goals. That's how it makes sense to me. But you still have to do the due diligence, even if it's in real estate. All right, define distressed assets. Okay, so a distressed asset would be one that has office. Office in a lot of markets is distressed. So when you start having mass vacancy and revenue is being impacted because of it, okay, let me give you a little bit more context for anybody who doesn't know. Commercial real estate and why I like commercial real estate, valuation is based on numbers, right? Everything's based on your net operating income. So the more income you have coming in, the more value the property should have. And so if something happens where you have basically massive vacancy, you have less revenue coming in. If less revenue is coming in, that's going to impact the value of the project. So buying a distressed asset, really what you're trying to do is buy at a discount. So you can come in, buy a vacant building, right? If the building's vacant, there's no revenue coming in. So it's not going to be valued as high as a property that has revenue coming in. Then you're basically coming at the discount. You can turn the asset into something of demand. Let's say an apartment building. This is what we do, or we do storage. So buy at a discount, build it. That's your value add where you're forcing appreciation. Then you're leasing up. Then you hold. I'll give you an example where this one wasn't actually a distressed asset. Well, I'll give you two examples. One, we bought a duplex in San Diego that was an Airbnb. So it was used as a short-term rental, not a distressed asset. But we were able to come in an area that was so undersupplied that the city council was creating new policy to help get more supply online, more units, right? So in the area that we bought, you could only build up to 4 stories. Well, city council said, we're changing the policy. Now you can go up to 8 stories. Going up to 8 allows you to get more density or more units on a smaller lot. So we were able to come in, buy a short-term rental duplex, scrape it, build over 30 units. And so the build is where we get our appreciation or our forced value. I told you earlier the total cost was, let's say, I think 13.4 million. Well, we're looking at a completed value once it's stabilized of around 18 million. So our value add to build it, that's the forced appreciation and the equity that we have the opportunity to capture in doing so. The distressed asset would be, and I'll post a video on this. I did a story on my Instagram. We have under contract right now in another market, Ventura, extremely undersupplied, a vacant car wash. This car wash has been vacant for years, if not decades. It is thrashed. That means no revenue coming in. And so the idea with that one, again, is to scrape it and build apartments, because apartments are in high demand. We get our appreciation in doing so. We get lease up because we're so undersupplied. We feel confident that we're going to hit our rents and hold those rents for the next decade. So now we build an apartment that gives us our appreciation, and then we sit on cash flow for potentially a decade. And then we get all the depreciation, all the tax incentives for doing so. So that's what I mean by we come in and look for distressed assets to then scrape, build something, have it appreciate, have it cash flow. That's how we're investing in real estate right now. And then storage, we do the same thing. We just look for a more specific niche. We want a Kmart that goes out of business, or a Walmart, or a Bed Bath & Beyond. So you have this big retail building that's vacant, which means no revenue, which means discount. And then we come in and scrape the inside and fill it with a bunch of storage units. I just saw a Passport question. Shoot, I missed the Passport question. We are distressed. You haven't done a kickflip on stream. I did a kickflip last week. It was on live. I was at the San Diego project. Somebody said do a kickflip. I did it. It took me 3 tries. The first 2, I had grip foot. I tried to, it flicked and just stuck to it. And then I landed it. It wasn't there was no pop. Because I don't skate that much, I don't jump high anymore. It's so whack. I thought I saw something about passports. Oh, you know what I need to do? Dang, I forgot to do that. What would you do if you won the Powerball? What would you do if you won the Powerball? That's a good question. If I won the Powerball, what's it up to? Billions? It's ridiculous, close to $1 billion. This is a good question. I don't know, actually. I'm not sure what I would do. I'd have to think about that one. I don't know. I would do a lot. A lot would go to charity. That's for sure. But I do that already. I give a certain amount of everything I make. So I'd follow that same model. So 10% off the top. I don't know. That's a good question. I have to think about that one. I guess Commune would be going through some growth. That's for sure. We'd be growing, I would just put more money into this thing to bring on more people to grow it faster. One thing that's interesting about Commune as opposed to St. Archer, when we started St. Archer, we raised money for operations for the business. So we were able to grow really fast. With Commune, we're building it off of cash flow. So we put our money in as partners, and then we built it up so that we had enough revenue to make a hire, and then make a hire, and then hire more, and then hire more. And it's a slower process. There's less dilution, but it's slower. So this has been the last 6.5 years with Commune has been new for me. There's things I like about building it off of cash flow. There's things I don't. So it's a little bit slower. Powerball, I would speed this thing up, that's for sure. Is there a book you would recommend about business relationships, business partners solving conflicts? That is a phenomenal question. I don't know if I've ever read a book on business relationships. I'm going to look into it now that you said that. But what I would say is it's very similar to relationships in general. It's really similar to marriage, actually. And so I'll look into an actual book. I would say on the marriage front, and even if you're not married, I would really recommend getting this book because it'll be helpful even in this conversation. The 5 Love Languages. It's such an insane book. It helps you understand how people perceive love. And even though we're talking about, a business relationship, you still need to make your partners feel like they're plugged in and they're important and that you're appreciative of them and there's value there. So there's a lot of crossover. I'm going to look into that book. Just to touch on this, just because you brought it up, I would say the thing about business partners is, one, it is actually very similar to a marriage. So before you go into starting a business with somebody, you want to have a buy-sell agreement established. What happens if this goes wrong? That's number one. Two, set all of the expectations on the front and have it in writing. Don't ever do a handshake deal ever. If you're starting a company with somebody and you shake their hand and they say, "Oh yeah, I'll make you a 50% partner," and that is not established, do not start the company with them. Don't spend another second working on it. I've seen too many instances of that person never getting equity, and a handshake deal doesn't cut it. So be very clear when you're starting a business, what the expectations are, what your responsibilities are, what your partners are, and everything that you want to accomplish, and then what happens when things go wrong. That's really, really important. The other thing is, if your partner does something and you start to feel it, how would I say this? You're starting to build resentment or frustration. Do not allow that to build. The second something happens, go speak to them immediately, because lack of communication builds issues up to a point where they may not be fixable or solvable, and that might destroy your opportunity. So you don't want to let that stuff build. Be in constant communication. And then I would say the other one, make sure that your partners are doing something that is outside of your skill set. If you have a partner that does the same thing as you do, there's no point in partnership. It really isn't. So make sure you are setting up the correct partners first. And then I would say that's probably what I have to offer right now. But I'll look into books. That's a really good one. Any advice on working in the corporate world? Being unfamiliar with corporate speak. I'm 24. You know what? Is there anybody in here that has scaled upward in corporate America? Because I have not. Everything I've done has been, I started the company, so I haven't had to do that. Any feedback or advice we can give Ulysses, what's the last name? Macias? I'm terrible at with names, so I apologize. Let's do that for him. Corporate America, I've never done. I miss your days at the barracks. Good times at Malto. You always had the best Feebles and Smiths. Thank you, legend. I appreciate that. I miss those days too. Those days were seriously fun. Mikey, do both your parents have good jobs? My dad was a photographer. Still is. He shot weddings. And my mom was an artist. She stopped working though when we were young, and then she started working again when we all left the house. She's an interior designer now. IG froze on me here now. Yeah, IG was, I don't know what's going on with IG. That was a mess. Thanks for being here on Insta. What's your take on Bitcoin? Okay, crypto, I have a little bit of it. If I lost it all crypto went to zero. It'd be a bummer, but I'd sleep tonight. I don't have so much invested that it would even come close to shattering me. So I still view it as high risk, and so I invest in it what I'm totally willing to lose. Bitcoin, in my perspective, I do think it's a digital form of gold. I think it's a store of value. I don't think it's productive. I don't think it's got the strongest use case, but I do think the majority of people view it as a store of value. And now as we're seeing these big funds come in and create ETFs, I believe Bitcoin's gonna be in there. And the more people that view it as that, the more it becomes. I think XRP is an interesting one. It's going to be interesting to see what coins or crypto is used for FedNow. What HBAR and XRP, look, crypto is not my wheelhouse. I'm not an expert. So just know that I'm speaking on it through the lens of this not being my lane. From what I know, XRP and HBAR have a good shot at being a component of FedNow. And if that happens, I think there's going to be price growth that happens there. There's a ton of other I mean, coins, there's all the shit coins, there's all of it. I stay away, like there's no Doge, even though I heard a crazy one about Elon, that Elon has a plan where he hasn't, specified what coin is going to be involved in this, but he wants Twitter or whatever the X company is going to become to have a payment system. I could see Elon making it Doge. That psychopath, I could totally see him making it Doge. That would be interesting. But I don't invest in those. And again, I invest a really small amount. So, all right, 5:40. I got to get home. I got to pack. I'm going to figure out tomorrow. I'll keep you guys updated on this whole adventure if we end up flying out of Tijuana, for it's LA. Thank you guys for being here. Have a phenomenal